This is Brian from ScreenFiles.com with review. The movie I'm looking at today is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And obviously, I'm reviewing this significantly later than a lot of other channels have. And I'm glad. Reason being, I didn't get caught up in the hype revolving around this movie. Because guess what? This is not that great a movie. In fact, I would argue that if the name Star Wars weren't associated with it, this movie would not even be successful. Reason being, it's two movies in one. The second movie is a space battle movie and takes place in the last, I'd say, 45 minutes of this movie. That's a good movie. It's very evocative of Star Wars and it's a lot of fun to watch. The second movie is a war movie, which is the brunt of it. At least an hour and a half of this movie is the war movie aspect. And that is not very good. Reason being, war movies are based on camaraderie. Whether you're talking about movies like Hamburger Hill, Apocalypse Now, Platoon, Don't Cry It's Only Thunder, movies of that nature are built around interactions between people and camaraderie and being caught up in circumstances beyond your control and doing your damnedest to survive them. Those are elements of a good war movie, and those are not here. They're characters in Rogue One that aren't characters. They're people running around doing things, but they have no dimension to them. As a result, you don't care. It's not a mystery at this point that at the end of Rogue One, everyone dies. Now, in a better movie, that would have been a shocking moment to see that happen. In this movie, you kind of shrug because no one has developed enough of a personality for you to care about. And that's a pity because the potential is there. And speaking of that tendency of this movie, it shocks me why they would have chosen Gareth Edwards to direct it. He's not a bad director, but he's not a people director either. He doesn't seem to do that very well. His movies look good, whether we're talking about monsters or Godzilla, but they tend to be very slow burn movies for a start, and they're not necessarily human movies. Lots of special effects, but Edwards can't seem to get through the effects to the people who are in the movie. So Rogue One comes off not wooden, it's not badly acted, it's just the actors, there's nothing to them. They're almost like caricatures of characters, if that makes any sense. So I found myself the first hour and a half, give or take, of this movie virtually falling asleep. It initially starts off at various planets, which was also a bad move. Why? Because it's not like, for example, Captain America Civil War, which initially starts off in various cities. They'll go from Queens, if I recall, to Berlin, you know, the big white title cards that came up. Now the thing about that is, I've heard of Berlin, I've heard of Queens. That doesn't bother me. It wasn't these rapid jumps either, but when it did turn up, it didn't bother me because I know those places. If you're going to some planet named Tobacco and another planet named Hula Baboo, I would think that you need to slow that down. Stop hopping from planet to planet. They did this like, in the first 15 minutes of this movie, I would guess they hopped around to at least 4 or 5 different planets. At this point for me, they're all meshing into one mess of planets because I didn't know these places before. So therefore, having them thrown at me at this rapid rate was just confusing. So there's that. And again, since we're not talking about a movie about people, there are people in it, don't get me wrong, but it's not about people because it doesn't tell you anything about the people involved except on a very surface level. You don't care about anyone. And I can't speak for you, but when I can't care about characters, it's boring. It doesn't engage me. And as I said, I was fighting sleep for the first part of this movie, into the second part for that matter. as things hit the space battles and so on, then it got a little more engaging to me. And it felt like Star Wars. So, again, I'm not a fan of this movie. It's not a great movie, and it's doing way too well to be as mediocre as it is. And another thing, and this is kind of geeky, but there's a scene during one of those space battles where Y-wing fighters attack a Star Destroyer and hit it with ion torpedoes. Now I'm assuming that the reactor for the Star Destroyer was destroyed, so its force shield was down and the torpedoes could hit it. Now, this is a problem, because think about it for a minute. The ion cannon was first introduced in The Empire Strikes Back and was used in a similar way as it was used here, to knock a Star Destroyer from the sky. The problem with that is that, as I said, the ion cannon was introduced in The Empire Strikes Back. It was never seen in any other Star Wars movie since then, except for Rogue One. So you're telling me the Rebel Alliance had technology, ion torpedoes, with the capability of stopping an Imperial Star Destroyer prior to Empire, and they never used it. That weapon was never used again, if I can recall, and I think I'm accurate, other than The Empire Strikes Back and now Rogue One. It makes no sense, tactically speaking, that you have a weapon of that power able to disable the strongest, other than the Death Star, one of the strongest ships in the Imperial fleet, and you don't use it. Why weren't fighters armed with ion torpedoes? Makes perfect sense. If I were fighting a Star Destroyer, I would want them, because it's the only thing that has been shown to consistently stop them. Other than you hit the reactors, and then it's a little more vulnerable. But still, it makes no sense, and it undermines a lot of that came afterwards. And it's sloppy storytelling, as far as I'm concerned, and it's really weird, and I don't see how that got by people. In any case, Rogue One, you've probably seen it, most people have. It's already eclipsed Captain America Civil War in terms of box office. I believe Captain America Civil War is now the third most profitable movie in 2016. Rogue One is second. But it's not a good movie. It's so inconsistent and weird. And I see it as the Star Wars people, rather Lucasfilm, behind the scenes, taking a chance and doing something new. And I applaud them for that. But just because you do something out of the ordinary doesn't make it good. And Rogue One, I hate to say, is not a very good movie. It's Brian from ScreenFiles.com. Welcome to 2017. Happy New Year. Good night.